You're in the middle of a fluid conversation. The rhythm is consistent, the energy is matching, and then, without warning, the other person just stops. Their expression drops. The verbal feedback ends. Within seconds, your heart rate shifts. You start mentally scrolling through your last 3 sentences, looking for the mistake. The silence feels like an accusation, and the urge to say anything, no matter how trivial, to fill that gap becomes overwhelming. This reaction is biological. Human social interaction relies on a continuous stream of auditory feedback. When that stream is abruptly severed, the brain interprets the absence of data as a social threat. To resolve the uncertainty, the brain manufactures a narrative. It fills that void with theories of personal failure or rejection, simply because believing you've made a mistake is less stressful to the nervous system than not knowing why the feedback stopped. When you treat this biological panic as proof of a social error, you instinctively try to fix the moment. In that rush to over-explain, you unintentionally hand over the lead in the interaction. We can choose to view these gaps as data rather than a threat. Silence in a conversation is rarely empty. It is usually a sign of high internal activity. One of the most common reasons for a pause is cognitive processing. If you have just shared a complex idea or a challenging perspective, the other person may simply be analyzing the information. People who are comfortable with high-stakes communication don't offer reflexive, empty responses. They sit with the information until they have a meaningful answer, meaning their silence is actually a sign they are taking your words seriously. Then there is the defensive retreat, touching a sensitive memory or a personal boundary, triggering a sudden internal stress response. Instead of reacting impulsively or showing vulnerability, they withdraw. The silence acts as a protective shield, allowing them to regain composure before speaking again. In both cases, the quiet is driven by the listener's internal load. It's an objective reaction to the information provided, not a judgment on the person providing it. Silence also reveals the structural imbalances in a room. It is often dictated by who feels they have the leverage to wait. Sometimes a person goes quiet because of internal conflict. They may feel out of their depth or insecure in the current social environment, and they are struggling to find a safe response. This specific type of quiet isn't a power move, it's a mask. They are waiting for someone else to move first so they can find their footing without risking a social mistake. But silence can also be a deliberate tool. By creating a deliberate void, an individual intentionally stops transmitting feedback. This creates a psychological filter. Finding the vacuum uncomfortable, the other person starts volunteering more information, over-explaining and revealing insecurities just to end the pause. The person who has the discipline to wait through that discomfort is the one who retains the leverage in the exchange. Once you recognize these patterns, the panic of dead air becomes a subject of observation rather than a source of distress. You can begin to use the silence instead of being controlled by it. When a conversation hits a wall, resist the biological urge to speak. Instead, consciously relax your posture. If you can stay physically still during the pause, you signal that you aren't searching for validation. Maintain eye contact, but keep it relaxed. Avoid the urge to look away or fidget, as these are subtle signals that the silence is getting to you. When you let the silence breathe, you transfer the psychological pressure back to the other person. You are effectively waiting for them to resolve the tension they created. This protocol requires deliberate self-regulation. By refusing to rush in and fix the moment, you establish a clear psychological boundary. You show that your comfort isn't dependent on their immediate feedback. Conversational silence serves as a test of social confidence. Mastering the ability to wait guarantees that you remain the one directing the interaction.